Él ha estudiado en la Universidad de Tokio, también en la Universidad de Los Ángeles, en California, de la California de Los Ángeles. Y es un arquitecto bastante destacado, sobre todo por esta suerte de aproximación a la arquitectura bastante de investigación. Es por esta razón también que en los últimos años ha estado viajando mucho a diferentes facultades de distintas partes del mundo, pero especialmente aquí en Latinoamérica. Ha estado dando muchas charlas y haciendo workshops en Chile, Argentina, en Ecuador. Nosotros hemos tenido la oportunidad de traerlo este semestre para que durante una semana trabaje en PTC en un pequeño workshop interno que estamos trabajando justamente para tratar de ayudar un poco a los alumnos a encontrar el camino correcto en sus proyectos. Él tiene algunas publicaciones, entre ellas una que tiene el título de la charla, que supongo sobre lo que más va a avanzar. Y nada, muchas gracias por estar aquí y un aplauso por favor para...
Buenos días. Me llamo Taku Sakaushi. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very much honored to be here and very grateful to share my architecture concept with you and professors, and I really thank Luis for fulfilling that opportunity. Today, the title of my lecture is Architecture, Frame, and Reframe. I will explain the frame and reframe later. So first, let me talk about the architecture of the frame. That is the main concept on which I started to design my architecture for maybe 10 years ago. This is my teacher's work, who is named Kazuo Shinohara, who was the professor at Taku Institute of Technology where I graduated from. And he got the Lion Prize, Golden Lion Prize in Venice Biennale for several years ago, even after his died. This is a very masterpiece of Kazuo Shinohara, where I went several times. As you can see, the characteristic of this house, that is just a house, is the structural system of surrounding the beams. Of course, that is exposed to the facade, but it's also in the interior space. And when I went there, because the beams, the columns of loose, so I thought I was afraid that I hit my head to that columns. So I asked my teacher, are you not afraid that the inhabitants will hit their head to the columns? And the professor told me, oh, please, people should get accustomed to the architecture. Then I thought that it's a kind of pity that the architecture losing that power in the time. So I started to think that I want to make architecture which has the freshness for it. I don't know if it's possible. Then I thought that the architecture is just fixed and it doesn't move. So I think that the architecture is kind of the experience gazing at the pre-coded view. Whereas the nature outside the architecture, or the people inside the architecture, or people outside the architecture, is always moving and changing. So if you get into the architecture, if you have the very nice view, the nice view has more power than architecture. So that kind of the things besides architecture is something like a live views. So I always thought that there is a live view and pre-decoded view. the architecture could be kind of critical video. And so finally, I thought that architecture could be something which frames the freshness, which is, as I said, kind of the nature or people or something. Then I published my kind of works, which is called Architecture as Frame. So that's the concept of my architecture at that time, 7 years ago. So architecture is not like a fort, which is just a solid stone or concrete, but it could be more like the openable, and then to have the communication with the outside, or you can enjoy the nature or people and something like this. So in this case, actually, literally, the architecture is framed in Japanese traditional building. And after thinking that the architecture is like a frame, some artworks inspired me very much. Like let me explain about the first example, which is the Japanese famous painters Tadanori Yoko's drawing. He made lots of drawings which shows the Y-shaped intersection of the urban space. The reason why I was interested in that kind of drawings is that you can have lots of experience and lots of view at the same time. I mean, if the architecture is a frame which frames the freshness, it must frame lots of, well, as much as possible. Well, in this case, just two, but it's very difficult to have the two views at the same time. So that inspires me learning. And then this is the second example. As you know, this is the very famous novelist in Argentina, Jorge Luis Borges. He wrote the El Aleph. El Aleph is something very small ball through which you can see all the worlds at once. So this is the artwork which was inspired by the El Aleph. Literally, that artwork shows that you can see the many images, millions of images of the world. So, well, it could be the exaggeration, but I want to make my architecture something like this. If you can get into my design, you can have lots of images. And third example is this is the famous Japanese novelist, Haruki Murakami. He wrote the Wind Up World Chronicle 10 years ago, maybe. And there is a very important architectural tool, which is a well, where the hero of the novel can drop into that well and then go to another well. So in this case, the well itself is just a device. But the important thing is there are two worlds on both sides. So I thought that my architecture is just this kind of well. The important thing is the two worlds on the both sides. So that could be the kind of tunnel. There is a very famous Japanese novelist which got the Nobel Prize, who wrote the Snow Country. The introduction of Snow Country is very famous. If you go through the tunnel, there is a snow country. So if this is my architecture, and then if you get into that tunnel, then if you have a completely different world on the other side, that could be very nice. So if I show the example of the architecture example, this is kind of my preference. This is, as you know, the Conferencia shop in New York. since this is the old building, you can patch the outside. So the future system designed this building, they just put the pump on the edge. So let me show you some of my works, which is really related to architecture's frame. So the first one is Lithium Total Factory. That is the recycling factory located in Tokyo, but it's not in the center of Tokyo, but it's kind of territory. It faces to Tokyo Bay. And then usually the recycling factory, I don't know if this kind of facility in Peru or not, that in Japan now there are lots of recycling factory, and then it's usually supposed to be the factory of the garbage. And so the government told us or told the architects to close all the factories in the box where you cannot see inside and so on. And well, that's an location. This is it's very near to the Haneda International Airport. So the concept which I and the clients made is to make the factory, which is supposed to be closed, open. This is the first model, really concept model for that factory, but actually that turned out to be very similar to the final product. The similarity of that is that kind of the frame. The people on the streets can see the inside area of the factory, which usually doesn't happen. So that's the facade of the factory. So this is the picture taken on holidays, so there were no people. But usually, so many workers work here, so you can see that those kind of people from the outside. It never happens in Japan. And also we also put the machines, which usually is covered by the architecture, but we put all those machines exposed. We convinced the government that it doesn't make a noise, it doesn't make a dust or smell or something. We prepared lots of papers to convince them. Then finally they understood. You know why we made it very open? It's because there is a very big park. People can go through, go over that street, so that we want people to look into that building, so that they can understand building. And close the box as something like a fortress. I showed you first, but it's not a good relationship between architecture and the people. We should know what's happening in the architecture. And then this one is really a new project which we did in the competition, and we won the competition. That is a competition for the very old ice factory to combat. Then our proposal is to convert the ice factory to the Nazareth. Imagine that that's a very small project. Imagine that ice factory was just 5 boxes. there are not so many windows. So what we did is to make kind of a tunnel here and to make the ground floor open to put the nursery there. And then also the second floor is kind of community places. So we put the staircases to go into the community kitchen, and also the third floor there is the offices for the community people. So this is the beautiful view to see the staircases in the tunnel. And then this is the third floor of the offices where the people can get in and then ask. That's a government branch of this. So this is, if there is the white boxes, you cannot see the other side of the building. But now this building is related to the environment visually. Architectural frame. Now let me talk about architectural frame and reframe. Then I made a book of architecture frame and reframe. When I started to make a frame and then to frame the scenery, or to catch, to frame the views outside of people and so on. Then I thought that I want to make something very strong inside of it. That is a part of frame, but it could be a strong frame. Well, there are many frames in my architecture, but some of them could be very strong frame, which makes you feel very impressive. So this is the A house, and then which is called the high-low house. That is because there is very high ceiling and low ceiling, and then another, again, high ceiling there. So this is the view from the space where there is a high ceiling, and then the view to the space have a very low ceiling. Well, let me show you the plan. So this batch, the view, the photo I showed you is taken from this side, high ceiling, and then there is a low part, and then there is another high part, where the top light, the light from the top light can go down. And then all this building is in the same section like this. So the red part is really low and then condensed space. And this is another low ceiling space. So this shows the three parts of that building. The high ceiling space and the low ceiling and the high ceiling. And this is also the frame, but not outside, not for outside, but inside. But that part has a very strong impression. And this is another high ceiling space where some parts have the transparent wall through which the top light can go down. Okay. Let me show you another example. This is located in the local area of Japan. So the outside appearance is really similar to the neighbor's building. This is called Three Corridors House. in Japan, modern house has a history that there is no corridor. Then that is a tradition of the farmer's house in Japan. Then in 1900, they put there is the one corridor in the middle of the building where you can go to the bedroom or dining room or something. So the clients who lived in that kind of a house where there is a one corridor. So they asked me to make that kind of system. Room, corridor, room. So I followed that. I put the corridor in the center. This is the entrance and the corridor. And then this is the wash tatami room. And then number 8, number 9, number 10 is the individual room. And then this is the living room. And number 7 is the dining room. Starting at the kitchen. Then this is the water closet. And then 12 is the study. So we put kind of a closed square in the house. And then finally, there is the central corridor, but also another 2 corridors on the south and the north. So which is called 3 corridors. But the central corridor here has a very high ceiling, like this. So in this case also, these 2 walls to make the center corridor is kind of a frame inside the space. But the frame to make the center corridor is framing to make a very strong, impressive space actually. Even if this is just a corridor. So this is the north corridor, and then there is the center corridor, and then the south corridor. Okay. So let me show you another 2 examples, another 3 examples. All those are houses. And the third one is called house. In Spanish, casa. So this one is a ground floor. Now I will explain the plan first, because this is a very complicated house. The number 2 is the entrance. Number 3 is the living room. Number 4, kitchen. And 5, 6 is the water closet. Number 7 is a space for the old grandpa, who is more than 90 years old. So he can live on the ground floor. And then his son's family live on the upper floor. Well, of course, the upper floor is connected to the ground floor with the staircase up there. So if you go up to the second floor, there is 1 room, another room. There are 3 rooms. And again, if you go up to the upper floor, there is another room. And actually, this room is connected to the number 15. There is a door here. And then this is kind of a loft space. And then there are many loft spaces here and here. That is a little bit higher than the main room. And then the loft space is the space where there is less than 1.4 meter ceiling, like this kind of space. So the outside appearance is something like this, because this faces to the park, where there is nice cherry blossoms, where in spring that is very beautifully blooming. So what I thought was to frame that park from the inside, So we put the 1, 2, 3, 4 very, very good opening toward the park. This is the frame for the outside. But we also put the frame inside. Oh, this is the view from the inside towards the park. So if you go up to the staircases onto the upper floor, this is the second floor. The ground floor, as you can see, the interior is all in black because the black frame makes the green beautiful. But if you go up to the upper floor, the void space is colored by white. It suddenly changes the space. And the shape of that void is very similar to the outside facade. So if you go up to the void space, you can feel the void house. If you see the outside shape, that's a really solid facade. But if you come here, you can feel the void white floating facade. So that's why I put the casa. You feel the casa again inside. Don't worry. So each individual room has the opening like this. That's because the client asked me to design the inside where people can feel each other easily, which European people cannot understand, maybe. This is also the loft space. It has the 1.4 meters only. And also this loft space also has the opening toward the void space. So if you come to this room, you can always feel somebody's presence behind that wall. Sometimes people, to put your head towards the void space and then say hello or something. So this is the uppest floor. This is also the loft space, which has the 1.4 meter ceiling height. Then there is an opening through which you can see another loft space over there. So there are one space, two spaces, and then void space, and another spaces. So you can feel the 4 spaces at once. So if you go up, if you look at the void space, you can have the many flames up there. Of course, there is a kind of the normal screen when you want to close the space, you can shut the space. So in this case, I put a lot of frames to have the connection to the green space, to have the connection to each individual rooms. But this white void is really strong feeling to give the inhabitants to have the feeling that I am now at home. So let me give you another 2 examples. This is another red house. This is a kind of second house located in Chiba Prefecture, which is 2 hours kind of distance from Taku. And then the clients, the old person who retired from the company and then he wants to make a portrait in this place. He also has the house in Taku. So they want to live in 2 places. So this is kind of a hill. If you go up to the hill, number one is a kind of carport. Upper building is the roof. And the second, number two is the entrance. And then number five is the kind of gallery, the kind of entrance hall, where you can exhibit, where the clients can exhibit their pottery works. And number 9 is the atelier. And 12, 13, 10 is the water closet. And 7, 8, 6 is the bedroom. Well, 6 is the main bedroom, 8, 7 is the guest bedroom. And 14 is the terrace. And then number 3 is the living, and 4 is the kitchen. So if you can see from the section, the space in red, in the gallery space, has a high ceiling, which you can imagine that is a very impressive space. So that is on the hill, which is looks like this, and then this is the terrace space. So that's the approach to the house with the carport. Even if this is the good structure, there's now columns supporting the roof. So once you get into the entrance, you have the ladder red space here. So the ceiling height is 3.5, very high. And then, of course, the color itself is really, really impressive. So the clients put their works on that shelf. And then if you get into the living room, you have a kind of raised ceiling there, which has also the mother red painting. And look at the joint here. That is made according to the opening. This is not regularly made. It's more like a playful something. And the bedroom also has the same kind of system design. Well, let me talk about the detail of the terrace. This is a polycarbonate, and this is a flat bar, steel flat bar, and then as you can see, you cannot see the joint of that polycarbonate. You cannot see the device to fix that. What I did is to make a slit of the flat bar and to insert that polycarbonate and then seal it. That's it. That is very strong. Actually, you cannot see, it's hardly see that polycarbonate. The reason why I put the polycarbonate is that the clients asked me to put something there because they have a very, very charming dogs. The clients are afraid that the dogs drop on that terrace. Since this is so transparent, so the dogs can hit their head to that polycarbonate. It was my mistake. So this is the last example, which has been completed last year. This is located in Pariso, which is the very famous resort place where you can go 1 less than 1 hour by Super Express from Tokyo. So there are so many nice second houses. The reason why the shape of the kind of shape, running the shape of the building is that the client doesn't want to see the other buildings. So the angle of the view is carefully chosen to avoid to see the other buildings. And then this is actually named Karisa Tunnel. If you come here by car here, and then you can have another walk from here. The garden is fantastic. So this is the entrance. You get out of the car and you get inside. Then you have another nice garden. So this is the view from the garden. And this is the structure is reinforced concrete, all reinforced concrete. So the roof is also the reinforced concrete. It's very difficult to construct actually, but the technique of the construction is very nice. Maybe that was a lost one. So this is the last slide. So today I wanted to tell you my concept of architecture, which is more openable to the environment. And sometimes it is really, you think that my concept is really aesthetics of architecture back. This kind of concept of frame is really related to the Japanese disaster of the earthquake several years ago. At that time, sometimes there were so many people who cannot go back to their house at that time in Tokyo, even if the earthquake is happened in the north part of Tokyo. Not part of Japan, but all the traffic was stuck at that time. And then some facility was closed. Even if there were so many people who wanted to take a rest, that everybody went to their house by walk. At that time, I also thought that the architecture should be something very open to accept the people. So many various experiences made me to make that kind of concept. And but architecture, I believe that architecture has the power to make people impressive. So I sometimes will study to put another concept, reframe. Then now I think this concept is now kind of completed. So thank you very much.